Thank you for tuning in once again to his Vine and Victory podcast. My name is Kurt Olson. I'm your host, coming to you on April 8th, 2026. Three things. Congressman Eric Swalwell, a transgender study out of Finland, and Tucker Carlson. Some folks might remember the report that came out, I'm guessing sometime in the past 5 years. I forget the exact year it happened, but there was an investigation that unfolded, and you come to find out that there was a Chinese spy who had developed a relationship with California Congressman Eric Swalwell. He took a lot of grief and mocking and criticism for the whole Fang Fang scandal, and he's quite effectively kind of blown it off with the help of the media, who doesn't give it anywhere near the attention that it should. But Swalwell is running for governor. They need a new governor this year, and he's one of a group of eight that is vying for the governorship of California. There's a couple of Republicans in that race as well. And we have come to find out in the past week and a half or so that there is an attorney by the name of Cheyenne Hunt who is being very persistent, being very loud in making the case that Eric Swalwell is a serial sexual harasser. So she's gone to TikTok and made a variety of videos that make the contention that Swalwell will sleep with his interns and will turn around and demand that they sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means they can't talk about it. And that means that if it's true, we have a congressman who has a reputation for taking advantage of young females that come into his office, and they have been basically shut up. And Cheyenne Hunt insists the number is large, and she has been trying to convince these girls to go to the media to make the case against him. Now, Swalwell would not be the first politician to run for a high office somewhere and it not affect him at all, if it's true. Bill Clinton won the presidency twice. There have been other people, other offices where sex scandals have not hurt them. But the talk is getting loud enough where just yesterday he went to make the case publicly that he is innocent of these accusations, and the people who are doing this are connected to Make America Great Again. Well, Cheyenne Hunt responded and said, if you think I'm doing this for Donald Trump and MAGA, you're out of your mind. And that just puts us where we are here in this season where, of course, California, big state, certainly big in leftist democratic politics. And it will be interesting to see what comes of these accusations. Do we eventually see some young women come forward and talk, and um, could there potentially even be a lawsuit that emerges? And this also kind of gets us to something else involving the Congress. A number of years ago, it was found out that there was a slush fund that was used for the congressmen to keep people quiet about some of their sexual harassment on Capitol Hill. And if you are a Jeffrey Epstein truther, meaning everything comes out no matter what, it would strike me that you would also be interested in knowing all the details surrounding members of Congress, present and past, who have made access of this slush fund to uh, basically pay off uh, various people to stay quiet about relationships with members of Congress. So there's that. Secondly, Finland. Um, when I got to social media at some point this morning, the top thing in my feed on X was a writer out of Australia who was commenting on a new study that was coming out of Finland. It's gained attention in a certain publication, and it focuses on transgenderism. So, over the course of about 20 years or so, there are two hospitals in Finland that do all of the gender transition surgeries. And they followed a group of nearly 2,100 people who had gone through this this transition. And they created a control group to match the uh, population group that they're looking at. But the reality is this study found that psychiatric morbidity for females involved in changing their gender rose from 9.8% to 60.7%. And among males, the psychiatric morbidity went from 21.6 to 54.5%. And the conclusions and are really stark that transgender procedures are linked to deteriorating mental health, and psychiatric needs don't subside after medical gender reassignment surgeries. And the writer out of Australia was taking the results of this study and also equating it to a couple of scientists in Australia who, upon finding similar information there a number of years ago, they got punished by the state, the government for it. So it will be interesting to see what comes of this study out of Finland. But I know just because of all the stakes that people have right now in Europe and the United States in the alphabet mafia that it consists of LGBTQ, although that's not all of the of the alphabet mafia, but you have the some serious things that are forthcoming there. And there's going to be an awful lot of people in the American media and the American scientific community and the European media and European scientific community to try to discredit this. And it will be very interesting to see what comes of it in the days, weeks, and months ahead. But that is a fresh study out of the Scandinavian country of Finland. The last one, the last thing here involves two quick items involving Tucker Carlson. So, Tucker Carlson recently, just in recent days, had someone on his show making the case that Esther, um, the book of Esther in the Bible, was a book about Persian genocide. And you you read what he was being said, and you're like, no, that's not what that is. Um, Now, the book of Esther has come under some criticism over time simply because it doesn't mention God. It's not the only book in Scripture that doesn't mention God. And some will argue, depending on the version, the Song of Solomon is another book. But Tucker Carlson is just, he goes out of his way to insist that Jews, Judaism, Israel must be criticized all the time, no matter what. And his little dog and pony show is getting really old. And uh, it the idea that the Book of Esther is about a Persian genocide just is just a complete rewrite of what the plain language of Scripture states. In fact, Haman wanted the exact opposite. He was seeking a Jewish genocide. He wanted the king to eliminate Jews from the land there in Persia, which is more of a region rather than just a country. And just one of those things where you're like, Tucker, where are you coming up with this stuff? Seriously. And we have found out in recent years that he has bought and paid for by the nation of Qatar. They're throwing their money at him and getting influence, and he is talking up Islam. He being Tucker Carlson, talking up Islam and turning his podcast into occasionally doing everything he can to discredit Jews and Judaism. And but Tucker Carlson wasn't done. Just the other day, he had a guest on by the name of Nathan Apfel. Now, I don't know this guy from Adam. I never came across the name. I did a little bit of research, and you come to find out that this is a guy who lives in Utah and is a filmmaker. And when you're thinking Utah, you're like going, well, he is a Mormon. In this case, Nathan Apfel is not. He uh, is doing some documentaries and other things to point out the need for some institutional changes throughout religion in the United States. And so Tucker Carlson has this guy on, and he says the Bible justifies socialism and how capitalism has nothing to do with the Bible. Well, you sit back and you're like, no, no, I mean, first of all, let's just go to the Old Testament. Something a lot of people can at least be familiar with: the Ten Commandments. Two of the commandments focus on not stealing and not coveting. And by definition, if we're being commanded, or if we're being commanded by God to not steal and not covet, there is ownership of something somewhere. And even if you go into the Gospels, there are parables that talk about, you know, someone giving people some talents, and oh, this one invested, and oh, this one invested a little, and this one buried it because of the personality of the person who gave it to him. And that as well would indicate some level of you know investing and someone having ownership. And this Tucker Carlson comes up with this stuff, and you're like, what is he trying to achieve? Well, if you're pushing Islam at almost every turn because you're getting paid for by at least one Muslim nation that praises Islam, it would benefit you to tear down the institutions of the West. And one of the institutions of the West is the religious foundation of the West, which is Christianity. And you have to do that by discrediting scripture. So I don't know what's going on with Tucker Carlson, other than he appears to be bought and paid for by some really ugly characters, and he's willing to use his platform as a propaganda piece. And there's an awful lot of folks on the right that, and I was one of them over time, really appreciated Tucker Carlson's, candor and all this other stuff. But if you are spending any amount of time listening to Tucker Carlson these days, you are being duped. Period. And it's about time you recognize it and change your ways. Um, but Tucker Carlson has strayed tremendously from the course he was on over the years. And it's sad to see, but not necessarily a surprise. And that's all I have for you this week. Again, um, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We have a variety of things going on that dropping a new column on Sunday. If you like what you're reading, if you like what you're hearing, please share it. And until next time, God bless and goodbye.